Hello and welcome to Heather and Hops. My name is Kat and I'm a knitter based in Hertfordshire in the United Kingdom. This is my little space on the internet where I have documented my knitting journey from day one and tried to cultivate a sense of community as we go. Oh, you'll have to bear with me, Audrey wants to play fetch. This is not the time, is it? Okay, you ready? You ready? I can't see it. Where is it? There it is. You ready? Hopefully that little interlude is done. She's had a little bit of playtime. Audrey is the in-house kitten who hopefully you'll have just seen because I will have remembered to insert the little clip of her playing. Oh, she's not had enough apparently. Thought you was done. You sweetheart. Right, so I don't have today's only second finished object with me, but I have indeed knitted the Varpu yet again. I don't think I've spoken about it, but I'll just glaze over it quite quickly. I knitted another one for a gift using, this is Drops Alpaca Silk, and this is the ash grey colourway. So I'm gonna, we'll come back to the Varpu, but it has been a little bit of a time for Alex and I. We had a really nice weekend away separately, and then ever since it's been kind of chaos. I haven't been feeling great, and you know, that's fine, that's what it is, but every other part of our life is going a bit wrong, including today where the camera is just, I don't know what it's doing, but it's doing something strange. We've had a lot of car problems, and not tiny car problems, and luckily no one's been injured, but tell you what, I'm ready to just talk about knitting for a little bit. So who knows what happened? Hopefully that intro was what it was. We have paused for 15 minutes, we've tried to update the camera, I've had a little phone call with Alex. So hopefully we're back on track for something that is a little bit more lawful good as opposed to chaotic, neutral good-ish. So my first finished object I don't have to show you, and I did knit another Varpu, so I'll keep it short and sweet. I knit it using this, which is a Drops Alpaca, so brushed alpaca, and it's an alpaca and silk base. And I also used Drops Flora in a similar colour. That was leftovers from my test knit that I did for Rachel Isley a long time ago. I'll put in the picture if I can. And then this I've had for quite some time. I really rate alpaca as a gift yarn. I've come to notice that a lot of friends much prefer the alpaca over the mohair. I think it is, for those slightly more sensitive, it's a lot more gentle on the skin, and I was wrong because little Audrey is at the door. Really? And I would 100%, you know, consider filming and starting from the beginning, but this is the reality. It is now an hour and a quarter into trying to share with you, and it's just one of those days. But as I was saying, the alpaca seems to be a great, mostly reliable gift yarn. It's soft and fluffy, and a lot of people love soft and fluffy. Yeah, and this is, you know, it's very affordable. Again, I always say this, but I haven't, you know, I've not found any information on drops. My thought is that because they don't share it, it's not as ethical as we would like it to be, but if you are on a very tight budget, this is an amazing gift yarn. The Varpu only used 3 or 4? I think it was just 3. Might have even been, yeah, 3. Because it was 2 and a little bit for the smallest size that I knitted. I did add a little bit of extra ribbing on the bottom and just a little bit more length because who I was gifting it to is slightly taller than I am, and therefore I felt like I should add a bit of length. And yeah, overall I'm still really happy with the pattern. It is a great gift knit because it's so fast to knit. It is nice every now and then for me personally to knit on something with chunkier needles, and it is knit on a size 10, and it's not that I really enjoy knitting on chunkier needles. Let's slow down. Absolutely chaos. Oh, well, she's found a seat. She's just down in the corner there. Great, we should be good to go. It's a quick knit, it's a great gift knit. Like I was saying, my hands, I like to try and stretch as often as I can. I try and remember to do so frequently when I'm knitting for extended periods of time, but I also like to change what size needles, what length needles, what material needles I'm using to try and give slightly different feelings to my hands. So I'm using slightly different muscles and slightly different movements. I just feel like it's a one step on to continuing to look after hands and wrists. So yes, that is the Varpu. Right, we're in for a bit more calm now, I promise. I say promise. I will do my best to keep that promise. I have a cup of tea, which I made myself when Audrey was distracting me and the camera decided to do some wild things. And it is just a breakfast tea, but it's so good. This is one of Alex's blends. It's slightly roasted and absolutely delicious. So the second one I have shown you completed, but I haven't showed you finished. So I haven't blocked it. I'm not sure that I'm going to. I gave it a really gentle steam. As far as I'm concerned, the stitches are neat enough already. I don't feel like I need to block it for any neatness. But this is Juvil Prid. I can never remember the name. I believe that's what it's called, which is by LB Hand Knits, who recently changed her name, which I will double check right now, which I'm sure you weren't hoping for me. But I do follow her, and I think her designs are beautiful, and she's recently released a cardigan, which is really interesting to me. I think the picture's absolutely stunning, as is all of her designs are beautiful, and I believe it's sort of knitted like a circular shawl, but she recently has converted over to Albiona, going by her name rather than her designer handle, if that makes sense. But I've fallen in love with her designs. I didn't know about her until I actually knitted this one, which was the Braids of Grass, which was a pattern that was very, very kindly gifted to me and cast on immediately. I love the details that she includes in the patterns. And this one was knit using You Imply Shropshire DK in the Middle Earth colourway. I really love this. The details in the cuffs and the way the yoke is worked is just beautiful. So this was knitted using one skein of Nutiden and one strand of Nutiden and one strand of mohair. I'm sinking back into calm, I promise. And then this was Yvering Bell, which is a Whistlebear yarn for the grey, and then the light grey is some of that alpaca, I believe, or was it mohair? It was one of them, and then Railwork Sport in the quartz colourway. And just all the details in this that make me very happy, like the covering up the stranded colour work. And I just wanted to share it mostly because I wanted to share the gorgeous buttons now attached, and when it is on it looks, it's just beautiful, I think. It will go really beautifully with my wedding skirt and my wedding top, which I do wear my wedding top now quite a bit. My wedding skirt I haven't worn yet, but I'm sure I will, and even my wedding cardigan's kind of similar tones. So really happy with it. I just really wanted to share the buttons being on it. I opted only for 3 because I felt like that's all it needed. I did stop intentionally doing buttonholes, so that is how I plan to do it, but I think it's written for maybe 6 or 7. But yeah, these were purchased at Unravel this year, which we very nicely got to go to. We were last minute kind of told about it. I didn't even realise it was happening because I don't know, I was just off Instagram for a little bit and didn't even think. But I'm really glad I went, and these are handmade from driftwood, and now I have 3 more for another project, which is exciting. I would love to knit the Eastwind again, I think, but that's something that I absolutely don't need in my life, but maybe a lucky friend or family member might enjoy it so much that I knit them one. But yeah, I just wanted to share a bit more love for this because I am really happy with the outcome. I think hopefully I would have stood up and put it on so that you can see, but I do think this is going to get worn quite a bit when the weather, I say, gets cooler. I'm sat here in a DK weight jumper and it's almost July. It's really not that warm considering, so I think this will be worn quite a bit, just need some slightly cooler days. And yeah, so that's finished objects, and let's just quickly touch on this. So I've got this beautifully large bag from Mary Catherine that has pockets in all the corners, like all the way around it, which means that my little bits of yarn are getting tucked away, which is really handy. But in it is living the yarn for my blanket that I've been working on, and this is the Coziest Memory blanket, which I believe is slightly adjusted from the Cozy Memories blanket. I haven't compared the two, but I found out about this pattern and that it was constructed as you go, and I couldn't really resist using this as the pattern for a special gift. And it is using all of the odds and ends from projects, as well as some slightly larger half skeins and half balls. Some of them are particularly special. For example, this was one of my first dyed yarns. This is, I believe it's the January subclub from Wool and Witch. This is one of my favourite colours, which we'll be talking about again soon. This was gifted for our wedding. This is Lab Bien-Aimé in the peanut butter and jelly colourway, I think. This is my own, which was inspired by After Laughter, which is a Paramore album. This one was also gifted for our wedding, which that in particular is quite special because of the reasons. Just in case they're watching, they're not watching, but just it needs to be noted that Alex did knit most of this one. I am surprised that we got so similar by winging without swatching. I think I'm gonna get him to go down a needle size, so I've been using 3.25 for mine, and I gave him a 4mm, but I think next time 3.75 will be fine. And yeah, it's coming along. This is 3 weeks of, this is mostly what I've been knitting on. You'll be able to see. I've done some other knitting, but not oodles. I'm really enjoying this. Like I said, I've been quite under the weather. I am hopefully going to be a little bit better in a few weeks' time, and I've just not really had a lot of brain capacity for anything. I really want to work on the shawl that I kind of designed and have been working on, but my brain is just a little bit frazzled really. So this has just been really relaxing, just backing and forwards, some decreases, and that's literally all I have to do and think about. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I think a couple of people have said, oh, I would love to do a blanket, but it takes so long. And I think each square is about 45 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, maybe more, maybe less, depending. So I think you could, if you really wanted to, you could do 20 minutes at lunchtime and 20 minutes in the evening, and basically get a square in every day, if that's what you wanted to do. And you'd have a blanket, you know, in 8 months maybe, depending on how big you wanted it. You could have it a lot sooner if you wanted it smaller. Like if you did it maybe 2, 4, 6 squares by 6, you'd have completed it in 3 weeks if you were doing it at this pace. That is the so-called wrong side. I've woven in a few of the ends, but not all of them. So you know, it's fairly fast, and I think you could get away with knitting it at this gauge. I think I wouldn't go any bigger than a 3.25 for my kind of loosey-goosey knitting, which is probably a 3.5 for most people, or a 3.75 if you're a bit tighter like Alex. So yeah, it's not, you know, I don't think it would take too long if that's what you wanted to do, but it's knitting, there's no pressure. You never have to do anything you don't want to do. Yeah, just want to cuddle this for a little bit. So I have cast on 2 new items. Both of them have been something I've been thinking about for a little while, but I kind of was reluctant to cast on because they're not things I particularly need in my wardrobe, but things that I would quite like to knit on and would quite like to own. So this is my first Rizzo, which is a top by Boys and Girls, or Amy Appel. It is a cute sort of 1950s style top. It's kind of cropped, sits just on the waist, and has tiny capped sleeves. The seed stitch and the eyelet details really make me happy, and Amy's use of shaping I do think is great. For me, the fit's really good. I've never had any issues with fit with these patterns, and the fact that you can kind of mix and match sizes, so if you're quite big or busted you can adjust. Yeah, so I quite excitedly spent Friday, I think, doing a little bit of dyeing. Alex and I got a yarn spun, and this is the base. So this is the Shire 4-ply, and it's 50% Valet Black Nose and 50% Jacob. Jacob being something I love, absolutely love, wholeheartedly will knit with it at any occasion if I can. It has a particular smell that I think is a little bit Marmitey from what I've understood. People really enjoy it, or it's not for them. And then the valet is kind of like, more like a mohair than anything else, as far as I can feel, see. They are tiny little sheep, they are really fluffy, and it has this slight halo to it. I'm really happy with the way that this came out. I've really enjoyed knitting it, and wearing my slippers, which I am still wearing, basically haven't come off my feet, because even though in summer I usually am barefoot, it's pretty cool. So yeah, I dyed it, and this was the colour that I came up with. So I used acid dyes. I'm so pleased with the colour. I used fire red and also a sky blue by Jacquard, I believe it is. I used a little bit of citric acid as the acid in there, and I first came up with the colour, and then I did a little strand test just to check, and I was really happy with it. But the first time I did it, it was a little bit lighter red, and I do have one more skein of that without the extra wash, so I added just a tiny little bit of sky blue as an over dye, and it's given me more of a variegated, slightly tonal colour, I guess. And I did put it to Instagram just because sometimes it's fun to have input, and I was torn between the beauty school and the Rizzo, but I say I don't wear t-shirts that are made out of wool, but I wear this one a fair amount, and I'm thinking I might do some sleeves on it. I'm not sure yet. I'm not going to hold myself to it, but in my head I was going to do this but with slightly longer sleeves, maybe just past the elbow. We'll see. Might be not that, but I don't want that. And I have done it slightly larger, so I've knitted the same size, but it's just slightly up larger. So I have gone down a needle size still, but my 4-ply is, for me, it's more like a sport weight when I knit it up. And this is as far as we've got, which doesn't look like much right now, I've got to say. It's but I love this colour so much, and I love the way the texture is showing up in this yarn. The slight halo, slight variegation. These little stitch markers at the front are ones that Time Weaver made for me, who now actually has a shop, which is really exciting, and I love the clicky clacky that they make. They are probably my favourite stitch markers. I use them all the time, and I've got to admit that the gold one, that's Alex's, but sharing's caring, and what's mine is his. That's how the phrase goes. At least it does in this house. Yeah, so I am knitting this 2 pattern. I've not made any modifications to it, apart from the fact that I'm knitting it kind of at a slightly heavier weight, and I've gone down a needle size. Really happy with the fabric so far. It feels lovely. We'll see about the sleeves. We'll see what we do. We might leave them, we might not, but I really enjoy these patterns that Amy writes. I'd quite like to have tried the Sheena top, but I'm also one for, if you've got a pattern that you like, you've paid for it. I mean, the frugalness in me kind of goes, well, the more affordable the pattern becomes, and you know, like, I'm not, like, I want to pay designers, but at the moment I love this pattern. I may as well knit it until I feel like I need something else. So yeah, really happy with this. And the intention was that it's going to be slightly more for fancy occasions, I guess, in that I have a couple of skirts that are particularly, I do this like vintage style that I still wear, and I've got some capris and just a bit more for those vintagey days where I fancy doing pin curls, which I'm really desperate to do at the moment. I feel like I need an excuse to Not that you need an excuse, but I feel like a day of going to bed with rollers in my hair and then waking up and brushing my hair for 15 minutes as opposed to 15 strokes a week would be really nice, you know? And it does match perfectly my favourite lipstick, which I have already checked, and also I feel like this might have been the subconscious inspiration. So we recently made flower crowns. I think I made this colour by kind of accident. Yeah, I love this yarn. I'm still so excited to be knitting something that is not just close to home physically, because it really is, but it's also really close to my heart. And I think those are the projects that I get, you know, most excited by, like this one in particular too. The fact that just a lot of good. So I'm really excited, and this might be my not priority project, but aside from my shawl that I really hope to do some knitting on, this will be the other one that kind of steals my attention. And then, because I was reluctant to, I put quite a bit of dye in the pot, and I knew that I wanted to maybe dye some fluff, and I didn't have enough red to try and over dye to get this colour in fluff, which would have been amazing, but I had quite a bit of the blue, so I took the remaining skeins of, well, balls of this Drops alpaca that I was gifted, and I felt like this was the thing to do, and so I have over dyed it to create this colour, which I can't help but thinking is, if you are a Critical Role fan, it's quite apt in a certain Circus Man colourway. I won't divulge anything else, but long may he reign is what I'll say. Yeah, so I'm quite excited by this. I guess it could be a Varpoo. There is enough here to do that. But maybe we'll try something different, right? I can't remember how many meters I've got, but I've got plenty to do something fun with. I really quite like how this is taken. So yeah, we'll see what this becomes, but I just thought I'd share too how you can take a colour like this on a yarn, and then yeah, nothing more to say on that, I'm afraid. But if you're unsure about something, though I do really love this colour, and this is actually the hat that, it's not because I don't love knitting it actually, I think I put it in a bag to take away with me, and then it's just been in that bag because I thought we were going to go away. We might do. So yeah, it's just here kind of waiting for a time where I'm around other people and want something that is easy for the brain, though I do have my blanket now, so I might prioritise this one. Yeah, so finally, I've been talking about this for a while. This is my elf mail, and I'm only showing it again because this is one of my favourite pieces. This is a pattern by Danny Meager, or Danny Knits Things, and the gold colour is one that I dyed on my yak base, which once upon a time I had, and the greeny colour is a colour I called Ford. So if you're interested in Critical Role, Dungeons and Dragons at all, welcome to this space. The background green is a high twist BFL base, and the other one's a yak, and a couple of people asked if this was, because of the nature of the stitch, if it kind of felt scrubby. I guess if you were really sensitive, maybe, if the yarn you chose. It is definitely I'll put it back so you can see. But yeah, it's definitely even on the inside, got a bit of grass, and this was washed fairly recently. Nature Child. This is kind of like my forest elf jumper. And I got a lovely tag on Instagram from Smile Hard, who is April Marie, and she cast on in kind of similar colours, and it's beautiful. And I've been looking at these colours in particular for quite some time. I think I even shared it here, and I kind of just couldn't resist casting on. It's a gorgeous pattern and a lot of fun to knit, and these are the colours that I've gone for. And this is just my undyed yak. I still have a skein. I think this was one that I got a little bit of splash of dye on. Yeah, I think there's. So I actually couldn't do anything with it other than use it, which is happy. And this one is by Twisted Squirrel, who is a dyer based in Scotland that, as far as, you know, indie dyers using acid wash yarns and superwash yarns, I adore her colours so much. She is fantastic. And there is some Dungeons and Dragons inspiration here. This colour is called Wild Mother, which again, you like Caduceus clay, you know, and I just thought it was beautiful, and at the time I just couldn't resist purchasing it. And I had pondered using other yarns, like I have this on yak, but I feel like it would have been nice, but it would have been too drapey, and let's face it, like, I don't know, this will get used at some point, but I'm actually seeing it with that, and that's quite nice. But I haven't done too much, but I've done some, and the way it's knitting up is beautiful, and it's actually something that I had to leave with me when we went away, so that I didn't just knit it up super quick. I want this to be like all these projects, I really want to enjoy them. But look at this. So this is like Triton elf, like a water elf maybe. It's so beautiful. And the slipped increases are just, I'm so excited. I'm looking at this again, and now I just want to play with this all day. Wow. Sorry. How cool is that? Right? It's like, I don't know, mermaid elf. Okay, so I'm smitten with this, and I really enjoy knitting from this pattern. Danny really has included a lot of notes that she recommends you reading before you start, and is probably true. I have really enjoyed working from it again. It's very straightforward, especially if you've ever knitted a raglan jumper. That's, you know, there's not much more to it. It looks a little bit more intimidating than maybe it is. There's a few little things to remember, but Danny walks you through them really nicely. So I would recommend it as a pattern for sure. Yeah, I don't think I've got the ball band for the Wild Mother yarn. Nope. But yeah, yeah. Stop playing with it, Kat. But it's so nice. And again, I have my Time Weaver stitch marker on here, which just goes beautifully again. Anyway, right, I'm gonna stop gushing over them, but anyway, it is living in another one of my favourite project bags. This is by Dahlia of Nat Knits Crafts, who I think is currently taking a break still, but produces beautiful bags. I received the first bag she ever made maybe 2 years ago now, and I still absolutely love it. It's currently holding my Peace Fleece project, which I am also doing a little bit of work on, but it's not enough to really show you. So yeah, feel very grateful again right now. I've suddenly sort of gone from, oh, everything's going wrong, to, wow, my heart is bursting. And that is because of this. It's because of this little community that we have. It's because of the sharing nature. You know, I wouldn't have cast this on without April's kind of very sweet message and sharing. I would have maybe held fire a little bit longer if 70% of you didn't agree with me that the Rizzo would look great in this. Yeah, there is quite a bit more. So we haven't done any dyeing on this. We have, I think there's only 20 skeins left in existence of this base, and then that's it. That's all of our yarn pretty much gone. But yeah, so if something that you're interested in, that's on the Ko-Fi. And again, the Ko-Fi makes such a big difference, and I really can't even. So thank you if you have been there in that kind of way to support me, if you've sent me some nice messages over on Instagram or here. Again, I'm so grateful. If there's anything that I've missed, always feel free to ask. I will do my best to put pictures up, to put the names down, to put the description in the box below. But you know, I suffer with a slightly foggy brain, and I do think a lot of us do now. COVID situation has, you know, but I really do, and I'm just very grateful. And I'm really excited to do some knitting. I do have quite a bit to do today, so I'm not going to get to do any knitting until this evening, I don't think, but maybe I'll sneak in half an hour on my elf mail or my Rizzo. And yeah, I hope that you are well. I hope that, you know, whatever you're doing is bringing you joy, be that making, be that seeing friends and family perhaps, whether that's staying home and even tidying. I am starting to have a bit of wave of like deep cleaning, things that just doesn't normally get done. And that's not to say we don't tidy and clean, but you know, like I spent 40 minutes scrubbing the front door, which is totally unnecessary, but it just feels really good to do those odd little bits. So if you're enjoying cleaning, I'm there with you. That's not cool. Yes. So that's that. I don't know what else to really say other than thank you again. And we played D&D this weekend, which was really fun. I got to play my second session with Alex in a sort of one-shot / going forward campaign. So thank you, DM. It was amazing. We did have a lot of fun, and one of my highlights was Alex writing a note to me that just said, "I keep thinking the dice are Quality Streets," which is not wrong, because his dice do look a little bit like Quality Street. Yeah, and I'm really enjoying playing that character, who is my Furbolg, called Penny Bun. She's well into mushrooms, and we've only been, you know, actually in game for maybe 3 or 4 hours, I think, but she's already starting to kind of, you know, be that kid at school that kind of copies her friends, and as a druid is kind of really excited to rage, but she can't rage because she keeps seeing the barbarian rage. So yeah, that was really fun. Thank you, players, too, and happy birthday to Sarah, because it was her birthday the day after. Yeah, I urge you to take care of yourself. I urge you to check in with your loved ones, stay hydrated, eat some good food, enjoy some good making, some good entertainment, be that reading or films. Currently I'm going back and watching some old films which I'm really enjoying again, and I'm gonna stop talking. Have a wonderful week, and Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you again very soon. Don't forget to love each other.